Honorable Union Minister Shri Y.S. Chaudhary, Honorable Minister Shri T.K. Ramarao, distinguished dais, distinguished eminence that I see in front of me, ladies and gentlemen. This is a magnificent auditorium of a great institution. And I think I have not exactly counted. I was trying to make a guess. I must have stood here at least 50 or 60 times. But if you ask me, what is that one moment that you will cherish the most? I would say it is what's happening today. And let me explain to you mathematically, because otherwise you will be disappointed. A scientist must start with an equation, right? So mathematically, I will prove to you as to why I consider this as the most cherished moment. You know, there is a dyadic when you partner delta G, which is considered to be equal to n into n minus 1 by 2. What is n? N are number of partners. So therefore, if n is equal to 1, that means you are going alone. It is 1 into 1 minus 1, which is 0, right? But you are talking about 50 institutions. And when 50 institutions partner, it is 50 into 49 by 2, almost 2,500. That is the impact you are making. So therefore, the kind of amplification that you have when you have partnerships of the kind that you are talking about is massive. All right? So this is a moment of amplification. This is a moment of celebration, according to me. I'm also very happy to read the words research and innovation together. Research, to my simple mind, converts money into knowledge. Government keeps on giving money, and we keep on converting into knowledge. Innovation converts knowledge into money. We are particularly good at doing the first, not the second. And that has been the challenge. And Prasad, you put it beautifully. And this is where our great challenge is going to be. We are talking about Make in India. On the other day, I was asked to give the opening plenary in a major exhibition that was held on Make in India. And our Defense Minister, Shri Manohar Parrikar, was there. He was the chief guest. He spent a couple of hours. So I said, I will not talk about Make in India as in assembled in India. It has to be Make in India as in invented in India. And the simple example, again to amplify the point, Prasad, you made, I began with was the following. In China, you make mobiles, right? You make smartphones, you make iPhones. Foxconn makes them, right? 4.5 million jobs are created. That's wonderful. But China takes away $10 per iPhone sold. You know how much Apple takes away? $250. Take a ratio, you said around 80%, sorry, 96.3% is taken by Apple, who innovates. So we have three models, ladies and gentlemen. One is to sweat it, get 4.5 million jobs, but only take $10. The second is go a little below, think. I don't talk about workforce anymore, I talk about think force. So think and take $250, but not many jobs, only take jobs. But the third model is sweat, get 4.5 million jobs, think, also get $250. That has to be the model. And therefore, Mr. Ramarao, I want to tell you that what we are trying to do is not to take $10, take $260 by creating what one is actually envisaging. So I want to congratulate you. I think that's a terrific vision. The second important point I want to make is, again, when you're doing research and innovation, you are bringing Saraswati and Lakshmi together. We do Saraswati Puja differently, Lakshmi Puja on a different day, right? But they have found the route from Saraswati to Lakshmi. You gave the example of Bob Langer, right? I'll give the example of George Whitesides. I spend every October in University of Harvard University as a visiting professor. My partner is George Whitesides. His H index is 186. All right? He's the highest cited scientist in the world. Right, Chandra?
Yes.
But the market cap of the companies that he has founded is $30 billion. Saraswati and Lakshmi going together. I think these are the kinds of models that we have to create. So I have complete sympathy with what you said, basically. And what we are now talking about is really making that happen. In a 1,000-mile journey, of course, there are first few steps. I would say these are our first few steps to sort of do that. Hyderabad doesn't need a certificate, by the way. I already consider it as a research and innovation capital. There is no question about that. I have been very intimately connected. Right from the time ICICI Knowledge Park was formed, by the way. It arose based on the discussion that we had on dais with the then Chief Minister when I was the president of the CII Technology Summit. You know, I've been associated with that, and I've been associated with so many things, including this laboratory. And I think the richness that you talked about is absolutely evident. I think it's a question of making it happen. There are just 5 points I want to make. I think the first point I want to make is that the future of rich will have to be built on a strong tripod of talent, technology, and trust. And let me explain the trust part of it. You know, about 7 or 8 years ago, Bill Gates had come to India, and there was a dinner cum discussion that was organized with him. I remember Nandan Nilekani was there, Anand Mahindra, myself, and 2-3 others. And Bill Gates told us something interesting. He said he was invited in Harvard University to give the commencement lecture. And there, in his lecture, he declared himself as the most successful dropout from Harvard, which he was. But then he narrated an incident to us. He said a company in Albuquerque was going to manufacture computer hardware. So he said if they are going to manufacture computer hardware, they will require software. So he phoned them up, saying that I will offer that. And he told us he half expected them to keep the phone down. Because he was a young man, 19, 20-year-old, and early days of computer, how would they sort of trust him? You know what they said? They said, we are not ready yet. Come after a month. And what Bill Gates told us was very interesting. He said, thank God they said come after a month. I did not have the software that I was offering them. But he had the trust in himself, and the company had trust in him. So there was a talent, there was a technology, but without trust, it would have gone nowhere. So when we build the foundation of it has to be on the basis of that. And here is a good news as far as India is concerned. You already highlighted this particular point about our intellect and talent, etc. Our Honorable Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee used to say, India's future is in IT, IT as in information technology. I also used to say that it is in information IT, but not IT as in information technology. India's future is in Indian talent. That's where it is going to make a difference. And what I am able to see, because I move around, interact with young people, is this tremendous surge. Our Prime Minister's magical sort of evocation of Startup India, how it has affected? It's incredible. I was in Pune. I chair the KPIT Technology Innovation Council, and we are a program called Sparkle, where we are trying to pose challenges to undergraduate engineering students, which are facing the country. And the best idea gets 10 lakh of rupees and so on and so forth. The Platinum Awards, this very handsomely rewarded these young people. We had some 10,000 entries, out of which 1544 were shortlisted and 4 were given. And at that point in time, I happened to meet one young fellow. His age was 11. I said, what do you want to become? You know what he said? Very interesting. I thought he would say doctor, engineer, or a pilot, or an astronaut. That is the age where you say that. He said, no, startup. I want to create my startup. I think that's terrific. I was interacting with some other young people, and my talk was Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Satya Nadella, He is the CEO of Microsoft. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google. So I said, there's a vacancy. Satyam Shivam Sundaram Shiva, maybe Apple. So one young fellow got up. Now, nowadays the young generation is very interesting. They would call you sir, but they will differ with you. So they said, sir, you seem to be out of date. I said, what happened? He said, in your generation, your idea was just to go to US, somehow. The second generation, to get a job in Microsoft or Google, somehow. The third generation now is saying that we want to become the CEOs. Right? Not my generation. We want to create our own Microsofts, our Google here in India. Now that's what Rich should be doing, because that is the kind of aspirational. It's an aspirational India. It's incredible. So, aspiration deficit, we should not allow. Trust deficit, we should not allow. What would be required is we should not allow resource deficit and persistence deficit, because it's a hard work. There is nothing like instant success, instant coffee. I always tell, Vara Prasad is here, and you know the kind of struggles that you have gone to before you made what you actually did. So I think there is a great news about talent, technology, and trust. That is one. The second point I would like to make is in terms of the RMF that you are creating. I think it's a great idea. Many times you will be surprised. It is not the size of the fund that matters. It is the way you use it. I'll tell you my personal experience. When I was Director General of CSR, year was 2000, Yashwant Sinha was the finance minister. And I remember he's calling me and saying that I'll be presenting the budget, but give me some exciting idea which will stir up the entire scientific community. And I remember, and I said, sir, how much time do I have? And he said, 30 minutes. Normally in Delhi, 30 minutes you have to do things. And I remember actually creating what is called as a New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. The word was leadership. Because we are too stuck on being the first in India. We have to be first in the world. That means leadership. That means risk. And how would private sector take risk? Basically, that was an issue. So we created a model where the private sector will get funds at a very low interest rate to be returned only if they are successful, by the way. And the institutions will get grant. Okay, I'll just give you one example. Bioinformatics was a big word at that time. But accelerators, the best software, would cost about $500,000. And how small biotech companies would afford it, right? So I remember going to TCS, Vidyasagar, who was senior vice president, and I said, Vidyasagar, I'm a 10x guy, by the way. In a sense, you have to do something which is 10 times better than anybody else, but at a 10 times lower cost. So I said, I challenge you to create a software which will be 10 times better and 10 times cheaper. He was also crazy like me. He said, yes, done. Why did I go to him? Because he knew how to make a product. TCS knew how to make a product, but they didn't have domain knowledge. So we put the domain knowledge by taking 19 institutions, out of which CCMB was one of them, by the way, Pune University and so on and so forth. Together I put in something like $5 million, I remember, and within 18 months they come out with BioSuite, so as to say. Interesting thing is what happened in the boards. When he went to his board, the board said, why are you robbing poor CSI? We'll give you $5 million. He said, no, I'm getting access to 19 institutions. When I went to my governing body, they said, but why are you giving money to rich Tatas? I said, no, I'm seducing them to get into bioinformatics. And finally, we were the winner, us, because of course Tata's returned the money in sort of 6 months' time. So what I want to actually emphasize is that we just don't want venture capital. It has to be adventure capital. If you do that, then you will see the magic actually happen. That is one suggestion that I have. The other one that I want to emphasize is like this. I love the word rich, right? Knowledge to wealth. And as you said, scientists have to become rich, and India has to become rich. But I would also like to add additional line. That is, we must also enrich the lives of the resource poor people as a part of rich strategy. Now, what do I mean by that? Resource poor is a big challenge, whether it is education, whether it is health, this, that, and the other. So one of the things that we need to focus on is what I like to call as affordable excellence. Normally when you say affordable, you say it can't be excellent. When you say excellent, you say it can't be affordable. We have to make that magic happen. So I'll illustrate it with an example and how at a policy level one can help in order to take these things forward. My mother, Anjani Mashelkar, in her name, I have created Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. This is the 6th year of the award. Inclusive innovation, including the excluded. And that award is given not to best practice. It is given to next practice. I'm not a great believer in best practice. Best practice means you are copying somebody's. We have to take leaps of imagination. So I'll give you examples of what happened. This year's award, last year's award, my mother passed away on 17 November. The award is given on 17 November. It was given to one Mihir Shah. They are all young people, by the way, 30 plus minus. What did Mihir Shah do? Breast cancer. As we all know, and as the experts would know, we are the highest in the world. We are highest in the wrong things in India in terms of deaths because early detection does not take place. Mammography, this, that, and the other, the whole thing. So what he has done, completely non-invasive technology he has created. 100% accurate, FDA approved by the way now. By which you can detect it. Cost per test, $1. That's all. Maharashtra government has given now 2.5 lakh, by the way, for screening. Rajasthan, Vasundhara Raj just now concluded something. And this can go places. And amazingly, I'll tell you, in Colombia, about 3 months ago, in Whitero, I was giving the opening plenary. Whitero is World Association of Industrial Technology Research Organization. And I mentioned about this. There's somebody from Denmark, David Twitt. He came to me and he said, we want it in Denmark because we have old women, very prone to cancer, and we like to test. And as we speak, there's a deal that has been stuck there. A technology invented in India, but belonging to affordable excellence. The excellence is the critical part. Basically, today is going places. All right? The year before that, it went to one Rahul Rastogi. Again, the point I'm trying to make is that identifying such young people and investing in them, because these are people who are great in technology, great in innovation, they also have passion, but most importantly, they have compassion. Innovation, compassion, passion makes it happen. Rahul Rastogi, his father had a challenge with his heart, and in the middle of the night, he had to take him out for ECG and all that, etc. So he said, why don't I create something myself, which can be carried in a pocket? And he created. Where what you do is that, for example, on my smartphone, I have downloaded his app. You download the app, and then he has this. Basically, you put your 2 thumbs for 15 seconds, and the sensors, you put them in position. Within 3 minutes, ECG actually deliver to the doctor. Cost 5 rupees. How much does an ECG cost? Now the important part is that when he came, it was equivalent to 6 lane. I said, you must make it 12. And for that, he created what is called a Sanket, by the way. Any one of you want to buy, go to Amazon and put Sanket, and you can buy it, by the way. Now, what was done was, in order to get that, I said, how much money you require? 46 lakh. I went to Tata Trust, and can you believe it? Within 48 hours, they give 46 lakh. And today, he has Sanket 2.0, which is as accurate as a 12-lead one, by the way. What does it mean? I mean, you just look at it from public health system point of view. Because entire India is going to get now wired thanks to, again, our Prime Minister's vision of digital India. All right? And you see the struggle that those people have, as a matter of fact, to sort of get an ECG. Now you can just see what you can do. These are transformative things, but require policy support, require funding support of the kind that I basically talked about. So my request to you is to consider not only making people rich as a part of it, knowledge to wealth, but also enrich the lives of resource poor people and technology belonging to the affordable excellence class, and sort of taking that forward. The last point I'd like to make is this. India's ranking in Global Innovation Index is not what we would like to see, by the way. Honorable Minister will be interested in knowing that in 2011, we were 62 among 142 nations. It came down to 64 following year, 68 following year, 76 following year, 81 following year, and last year it has jumped to 69. Not because we have become suddenly innovative. I happen to be on their international advisory board, and I strongly objected to some of the measures that they are using, and there were different measures that were introduced. That is how our rank actually went up. In fact, I asked them a direct question. As a Mars orbiter mission, we did for $74 million, as against US $671 million. How do you count it? We did 104 satellites in one. How do you count it? You know, there are several other measures. And also, they look at only technological innovation, but there is a business model innovation, system delivery innovation, workflow innovation, which can make a sort of a big difference, like what our Prime Minister has done. JAM, for example. It is transformative. It is the biggest and the fastest financial inclusion in the whole world. I would consider Notbandi as a disruptive innovation, as a matter of fact. You know, and what impact it has basically today. So as we speak, by the way, Festival of Innovation, you will be there also. The inauguration precedents, we will be there for 7 days now. And there, one of the topic we are taking is, and we are getting the Director General of WIPO, by the way, himself to come, because they are involved in creating these indices, and have a discussion on how India's rank can be improved, not by changing indices, but India innovating, you know, and doing that mind to marketplace, not just the mind. And finally, my wish is we change, I think, our aspiration, not first to the word, but, first to India, but first to the word, not just the best practice, but the next practice. And I do hope that even when we say we want to leapfrog, we'll rethink about it, because frog can leap only this much. I love what I like to call as pole vault. The size of the pole determines how far you will go, right? Take a 1,000,000-meter pole, you can cross continents. I hope Rich will pole vault not only Hyderabad to a new destination, but inspire the whole nation to pole vault to its rightful destiny, according to me, and position in the Committee of Nations, which is right up there. Thank you.